Plenty of news to get to, and some late-breaking news, at least last night before everybody trying to go to bed. Darryl Sutter named the new head coach of the Calgary Flames following a 7-3 win over the Sens last night. Geoff Ward was relieved of his coaching duties. Sutter going for his second stint as the Flames head coach. We take you through the timeline here of Darryl Sutter and his coaching resume. You can see he's the Hawks head coach back in 1992 all the way up to 1995. And then the Sharks head coach from 97 to 2002, accumulating 192 wins there. From there, he goes to Calgary for the first time from 02 to 06, losing in the Stanley Cup final that year, Game 7 against the Bolts, 2004. Flames general manager. He was named from 03 to 2010, reached the playoffs in 5 consecutive seasons from 2004 to 2009, then was the bench boss for the LA Kings from 2011 to 2017. Fast forward from there, he wins the Stanley Cup in 2002, or 12, I should say, in 2014 with the LA Kings, 2-time Stanley Cup champion in Los Angeles, and most recently on Friday nights in the wee hours named Calgary head coach, taking over for Geoff Ward. Here's general manager Brad Treliving talking Friday about the sense of urgency that his team is facing now.
As a manager, there's certain times that are required for patience, and there's certain times that require action. And in watching our team over the last several days, weeks, I felt strongly that this time right now was a time for action. We've been underperforming. We've been inconsistent. This should be a clear message to our players that the level of urgency that's required right now because of our position and our situation requires a level of urgency that hopefully everybody recognizes.
That's what drives the bus on the good teams, is the relationship the coaches have with the head coach has with players and how he can maximize what they have inside of them. And this group, it's, you know, they're a very intriguing group because there's a lot of really good players. They just have to adjust their style a little bit to do what it takes to win, and we'll do that.
All right, there's a lot of hockey fans out there wondering, after a 7-3 win, why you fire the coach at that time. Surprised by the timing of this, or take us through how these kind of play out sometimes?
No, the fans shouldn't be wondering about that. Obviously, they'd already made the decision beforehand. Logistically, these things don't come together exactly how you want them sometimes. That's all that was. Obviously, there was nothing wrong with the 7-3 win over Ottawa, but Brad Treliving mentioned a number of times throughout his press conference that he'd been thinking about this for weeks. He felt it was time for action, so he acted, and action they will get, by the way.
All right, it's been a couple of years since Darryl Sutter's been behind the bench in the NHL. How has the game evolved and changed, and do you think he's ready to change with the times as well?
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit of a shock for him in terms of the roster. Not going to be a Kopitar, Jared Stahl, Willie Mitchell, just veteran players. You know, that was the last team he coached, and he did really well. That team got what he was all about. Now, when I think about Lindholm and Tkachuk and Gaudreau and Monahan, with the exception of Lucic and Giordano, not that many guys that are going to understand where he's coming from immediately. So he's going to have some work to do to bridge that gap between.
Does he have to adapt to them, or do they have to adapt to him?
Well, the way it used to be done is that, you know, you guys would take over and they had a certain way of coaching, and the team would have to be molded into the way they coach. The way it's done more effectively today is you have coaches come in and look at the assets they have, and then they try to bring the best out of the group that they have. That right there will be the rub, in my opinion. I love Darryl. I think he's a great guy, super intense. He doesn't always come over or across that way as a coach, and that's going to be his challenge. If he can do that, then they could have a lot of success. He is certainly going to get their attention when he walks in the room. He just has a certain presence about him, a little je ne sais quoi, so to speak.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Like, he is going to command some attention.
Yeah, he talks, you listen.
Yes.
Instant shakeup to that dressing room right now, and whether they respond or not, we shall see. As we mentioned, second stint in Calgary. Not too often you see a coach get hired a second go-around. Should we be surprised by this? And if so, why?
Well, that's a very good question. It does happen occasionally. I mean, Randy Carlyle obviously comes to mind right off the hop. Jacques Lemaire would be another one, just as we see aboard. Thank you, Serge. I appreciate that.
There's not many.
No, there's not many. It doesn't happen that often. Obviously, Brad Treliving felt that Darryl was the right guy.
He lives right there.
Well, he certainly is close geographically, and there's no borders across or anything like that. It was rumored that Anaheim might have had interest in him. I don't know if that's true or not, but I certainly heard that a number of places never confirmed it. The reality is that he's back. Attitudes are going to change. People are going to be shaken. There's going to be a lot of demanding in terms of what the players need to put out on a nightly basis. Darryl does not suffer fools well. He will communicate that portion of his job very well to players. He will get their attention, trust me.
What's your gut saying? Do you think this team and those players respond to his style?
I think that the Calgary Flames have a better roster than their record is right now, and that's not a shot against Geoff Ward, but for whatever reason, I don't disagree with Brad Treliving that they were underperforming as a roster.
All right, we'll have to see. Again, just some of the news that we had breaking overnight. We'll get to the rest of it as the show gets along, but want to get you to the game on tap tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time right here on our network. We've got